One of the things you probably figured out about me is I don't put somebody on just because they're super popular and everybody's talking about them. And I'm hoping to get more clicks and I'm hoping to get more views and I'm hoping to get more money because I'm monetized on Rumble, rumble.com/do not talk. Do you know how much money I'm making this month, by the way? It's up to $52. And that's a big month. You don't even get paid unless you make over $50 in a month. So it's Rumble's ridiculous. I mean, I love it. I thank God for them, but they don't share the monetization like YouTube does. But YouTube's giving me 2 strikes now, 1 more, and I'm out. This show with Arthur Schaper today might be the 3rd strike. Oh, well, so be it. I don't have many people on. I don't invite them to say, be a part of the show every week. As a matter of fact, there's nobody else right now except Arthur. I enjoy talking to him so much. People don't know him unless you read his stuff in American Thinker and townhall.com and so on. He's in several publications online and print. He's a writer, author, commentator, and just a kick. I think he's fantastic. My favorite work from his is hold on. Mass Resistance. Massresistance.org. That is my favorite work that he does because I love what they're doing. And check them out, massresistance.org. Please follow them. Start supporting them if you can. And while we're at following and supporting, you can do the same for me at charliesimons.com, CharlieSimons.com. You can get yourself one of these mugs. You know you want one. You know you want one. Don't even act like you don't. Let's talk about politics and religion. Drink out of this at your workplace. Come on, strap on a set. You can do it. Put your back into it. Get yourself a mug, a hat, shirt. I got all kinds of things at charliesimons.com. Click on that merch store. All right. So many things happening right now, but we're going to concentrate on California. Arthur and I are both Californians, and we have a primary coming up June 2nd, and elections are won and lost in the primaries in the state because of the stupid, dumbass jungle primary. Thanks, Arnold Schwarzenegger. What a great addition that was. It's horrible. If we do luck out, if we're blessed, I should say, if God, Lord willing, we actually show up and vote on June 2nd, and we get a Republican candidate going to the governor's race in November. And that candidate, Lord willing, actually wins. I pray that one of the things they do is get rid of this jungle primary crap, where the top 2 vote getters go into the main election. You might think, well, that's fair. That's the voice of the people. No, not when there's rampant election fraud. Not when there are millions of illegals voting. Millions. In our sanctuary state of California. Don't even pretend that there aren't. It's going on. And it has ruined our state, ruined it. That's what I'm going to be talking about with Arthur. And what's going on with Cesar Chavez? What the heck? The left worships Cesar Chavez. Why is he falling out of favor? What? We'll talk about that and more. Ready? Hit it. What's up, partner?
Things are good. Thanks for having me back again, Charlie. It's always good to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad. Let's jump right into it. What's going on with Cesar Chavez? He's the hero of the working class and of the Chicanos, the Latinas, the Latinos, the whoever you want to talk about this.
The Padres, the Mamacitas, the Papacitos.
There you go. There you go.
You know, and some
the
even
Mijas, yeah, suddenly
some people even thought he would be like, you know, this guy would be putting on a MAGA hat today because of his stance on illegal immigration. Although I just recently read on this, Chavez was vocally opposed to the illegal migrants. They were strike breakers when the United Farm Workers were trying to get better wages and work conditions on the farms. However, he did he started to cave a little bit and said he was open to some amnesty and giving help to some migrant workers. So there is that. But the bigger point is the conservatives love to promote this guy. And I admit it, I was up in Monterey County. We were going after the Board of Supervisors. This was in 2018, demanding that the board, there was the big movement against Senate Bill 54. That was the sanctuary state law. You had a number of county boards that were stating their opposition to it, or they were passing, contrary or, they wanted to push back on that sanctuary state law. So we were in Monterey County, and I went to one of the supervisors' offices and we protested and said, you need to take a stand against this horrid law. There was a bust of, the head of Cesar Chavez, right? And I put the MAGA hat right on it. I could probably find the photo for you. But, I fast forward to today, and all of these horrid allegations have come forward. And you know what? I get it. It's in the New York Times, but I read the article. I looked at what they said they did. They interviewed numerous people, 60 different individuals, disconnected, disparate within the farm workers movement, and they all confirmed all of these horrific child abuse allegations, sexual assault, sexual abuse, grooming, child molestation. Even in the Cesar Chavez archives, there's a letter from a 13-year-old that was written to Chavez, and it's extremely flowery, intimate, really creepy. One would think that if he had had any integrity, he would have told this girl to kind of back off and just be with your mom and your dad. I am going to accept these allegations as true. The left has never had a problem covering up for predators, perverts, and pedophiles. I'm not surprised.
Oh, certainly not. Bill Clinton comes to mind.
There you go. And so it's like, for them to use him as an icon as much as they have is not surprising. Why do we see all this stuff coming out right now? I mean, one could certainly make the case it's that Cesar Chavez had this longstanding standard against illegal immigration, and President Trump has been a chief enforcer fighting against this culture of allowing open borders, allowing illegals into the country, and not enforcing our immigration laws. So I think that's one of the key elements to it. But you know what? I think there's a bigger, wake-up call for the conservative movement in general. We have this tendency. We think that we're owning the libs. If we find some liberal icon or some SJW or some other left-wing activist and say, look, he had this conservative view, so he's awesome, so we should promote this guy. And I don't think that's actually a good idea. We need to stop doing that. I mean, people love to go around about Martin Luther King Jr. was a Republican. So what? He was at communist rallies. They have affirmed this stuff. Frequent serial philanderer, sexual perversion of all kinds, cheated on his wife. He was not a Christian. There's a guy named Chad Jackson who has an Instagram account. He has done a fantastic job exposing the complete fraudulent hagiography of Martin Luther King Jr. So here they are. They're pulling the strings on Cesar Chavez. I have no problem with this. And I don't have a problem with the left eating their own. They initiated the cancel culture Stalinist tyranny. Now They can do it to themselves. I have no problem with this. It's totally appropriate. This brings another account to mind. It's a much more local example. Joe Paterno, Joe Pa. He was the coach for the Nittany Lions. And this guy was like a celebrated college coach. Everybody talked about him. He was just a superstar across the country. If you knew college football, you knew about Joe Paterno. And lo and behold, Jerry Sandusky, I think was his name, was his assistant coach, and he was involved in all sorts of horrid child molestation, absolutely despicable. He was exposed, he was arrested, he was convicted, and there you have Joe Pa. He knew about it and did nothing about it. He covered it up. The reason I'm bringing that up is I remember the culmination of this. Joe Pa was busted, he resigned as coach, and then he died of cancer. I mean, all the guilt just hit him. Understandably so. They confronted, because it was all about protecting the institution of the college football program. This is horrid. This is what happens when people worship movements, outcomes, people within the movements. The culmination point, there was a statue of Joe Pa surrounded by football players, and within a matter of days, there was a fence put up. They unscrewed the statue, they took it down, and they removed it. They're doing the same thing to Cesar Chavez. I really have no problem with that. If the guy was a fink, a creep, an absolute turd, child molester, sexual abuser, he needs to go. No question about it. I do think but I think there's a larger issue. What I've explored, and there will be something published about this in the few days if they accept it. Putting aside all the sexual perversion, they shouldn't have been making statues of him in the first place. He was a leftist. Let's not ignore that. This is a guy, people treat union actions and collectivized, work stoppages as something praiseworthy. But when you think about it, a farmer, that's his land. If you don't want to work it, if you don't like the wages, then you can work somewhere else. Labor strikes, collective actions, they are in a way abusive. They frustrate commerce. They frustrate right to work. They frustrate free enterprise, freedom of movement. That's not fair. That's a violation of our First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, etc. If I want to work somewhere, why do I have to join a union? If the union doesn't like the wages, why do I have to leave the job if I'm okay with the wages? There's a lot of fundamental problems here, which is becoming kind of an issue because President Trump has made great overtures to a lot of organized labor. The port unions, you've got the private sector, the carpenters union, et cetera. They have started to cozy up. The police unions have cozied up to President Trump because of the public safety issue. There's some understanding of that, but at the end of it all, collective actions, work stoppages, et cetera, these actions are actually not very effective. I think it's wrong that port unions can shut down our trade because they don't like a deal. That's not fair. What about my property rights? What about my rights to buy something? That is wrong. They've even studied this. This is me getting very academic here. William Hutt, he wrote a book, The Theory of Collective Bargaining. It's pretty academic, but it's a profound point, which is he studied all these different he called them combinations. He was born in the United Kingdom. He worked in South Africa, and he studied collective bargaining. He studied union and labor efforts, and what he found is they're not actually very effective. There is work. Anybody can find a job at a decent wage if they're willing to look for it, work for it, shift for it, train for it. It's not right to prevent any segment of the population from seeking a job. And that's what you have with Cesar Chavez. This is not something we should be celebrating. Again, I'm putting aside all the sexual perversion. Why are we celebrating a labor leader who was disrupting business, even if it was so-called peaceful, even if it was nonviolent? In a way, it actually is violent. You're not letting people work. You're telling people they can't work. This is a guy who also worked with he was Democrat operative, et cetera. That's a real problem. And here's the other thing, too. Okay, he was opposed to illegal immigration. Sure, but not because he cared about America. He was opposed to illegal immigration because it hurt the power of his union. And we have to look at not just what people are fighting for, but why. The why does matter. And we see that. And so to me, I have no problem with the statues being taken down. They should have never been built in the first place. I think it's ridiculous they created holidays for the guy. This is silly. President Obama issued an order. There wasn't any act of Congress to recognize Cesar Chavez Day either. He was not somebody worth celebrating even before all of this perversion came to light. So now I do believe, and I think there is merit to the suspicion that Democrats, the left, they wanted to pull the plug on this guy because of his opposition to illegal immigration. That was always a thorn in their side. So all of this Me Too stuff coming forward gives them an easy pass to pull the plug on it. Fine. So, but
that is the bottom line. I am absolutely with you. I think that is the main reason why the left is supposedly suddenly turning against their hero. And this is a story from USA First reporting. Crisis mode. Democrats react to disturbing accusations.
Yeah.
A political firestorm erupting. Once revered figure, long celebrated for organizing farm workers and advancing union power in agriculture. Let's see, what else did I want to get to? Oh, yeah, here we go. The backlash was swift. Ben Ray Lujan, a Democrat, publicly condemned the accusations in blunt terms. The allegations against Cesar Chavez are horrific. Abuse of any kind, especially against children, is indefensible and a betrayal of the values that Latino leaders have championed for generations. There is no excuse, he wrote on social media. That's a Democrat doing that. Why all of a sudden?
And the hypocrisy is rife, and I hope someone on the left will point this out. Why hasn't Bill Clinton been ostracized? I mean, you've got all the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. You have the horrific photos. You have the very illicit and disturbing pictures of him with young women, let's put it mildly, if they are mature, if they're adults at all. This is horrific in itself. The New York Post did an editorial on this on creepy Bill Clinton how many years ago. And yeah, sure, Bill Clinton, he sounded like a Republican, sounded like Trump in the mid 1990s. But if the conduct is this atrocious and abhorrent, then he needs to go. We shouldn't be allowing these people now. And look, you can't, if men have done good, the good still stays, even if the man is bad.
They're real selective on their outrage, aren't they?
But
the only reason why they're outraging against, why they're so outraged against Cesar Chavez is because it has come out more and more. We on the right are going like, wait a minute, this guy was anti-illegal immigration.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? They don't want to answer that. They don't want to address that. So just like Martin Luther King, who was all about, can't we all just get along and live together regardless of color, based on content of character instead of the color of your skin? That's all fantastic stuff. Well, BLM comes along, Black Lives Matter, and only Black lives. And anybody who dared to say all lives matter, you were ostracized, shut up, shut down, including me. I was so attacked just because I dared to say that on the air. It's so hypocritical and ridiculous, these people.
Yes.
Their selective outrage. So screw them. I want them out. I want the Democrat Party to just frickin' go away. Either restructure, recalibrate, get smarter, and stop catering to a fringe minority on the left, or get out. You don't have any position here. You don't have any say in the running of our government. I want you gone. I want the Democrat Party to just frickin' go away, is what I want. But we're not going to have that here in California, Arthur, unless we show up for the primaries this coming June 2nd. Conservatives suck at that. They're not even registered to vote. A third of the population claims to be Christian, yet only about 40% are even registered to vote. And for those who show up for the primary elections and the midterms, it's in the teens. It's in the teens. If we don't see a tremendous reversal of that and actually get involved this coming June 2nd, we are ski-rood. That's the last light at the end of the tunnel to finally, after seeing all the horrific actions of the one-party state in California, what they've done to our once golden state, if we can't rise up against that and shut that down, then we deserve what we get.
It's it's astonishing. It's been 16 years of one party rule when starting with Jerry Brown getting back in the governor's mansion in 2010. And you would think that, there he has 4 terms of that guy. He was able to take advantage of the term limit loophole. It was in place after his first 2 terms as governor. So he got to run twice. He ruined Oakland. He was a terrible attorney general. And then there he is as governor, again, ruining the state, turning into a sanctuary state and all the other terrible things. I just, before getting into like election matters, there's just like one other thing I wanted to talk about with Cesar Chavez just really quick.
Oh, sure.
The United States, we have to have a real reckoning or a discussion as a country and as a culture. Who are the people that we should commemorate? Because I think there is that one other concern. Tearing down the statues of Cesar Chavez is more than appropriate. But we've also seen these creepy leftists. They want to tear down, Washington, Jefferson, all our founding fathers. Then there's the issues about the Confederate generals and those statues being torn down. I mean, the Marxists, they have this, aggressive agenda to wipe out our history entirely. So we don't want that. We have to have a core set of principles. Who do we celebrate? Why do we celebrate them? How do we celebrate them? And I just think that it's really important to address this. I think that we need to be commemorating men and women in our history who have served all Americans. They weren't just political activists with a limited agenda, but they helped everybody. I think people who were involved in the founding of our country, the character, our country exists because of Thomas Jefferson, Washington, etc. Therefore, we do commemorate them, because there is a fact. If we're going to play this cancel culture game, people have done lots of bad stuff in their past. And are we going to pull this? Do we pull all the statues down? Do we have no commemoration for anybody? I think that's a very bad thing, because we want to have leaders. We want to have founders. We want to have statesmen that we can look up to. Winston Churchill, I mean, the guy was, he would stay in bed till 10 o'clock in the morning, and he drank a lot and he smoked a lot and he had said nasty things about certain ethnic groups. Are we going to pull down the entire UK history? Are we going to turn World War II into a bad thing? No, absolutely not. But it's like,
well, they have actually in England.
They have, to their shame, but we should not. We should, and thank God for Trump restoring Winston Churchill's bust in the White House. That's really key. And it's about what Churchill did. His leadership served the country. It served the world, defeating the fascists, defeating Nazi Germany, defeating fascist Italy, defeating these vile global evil movements that served us. We want to recognize service. Cesar Chavez, okay, he helped some farm workers. I mean, again, putting aside the perversion allegations, who did he really help? Who did he really serve? It was a political entity, a political group, and politicians propped the guy up so they could score points with the farm workers unions and the other unions. It's not about us as Americans. And that's something that I really want to confront. We've got to restore a clear set of standards about whom do we remark, uphold, and celebrate, and why some of these statues do need to be turned down, because a lot of it's political posturing. So there's that. I wanted to get that thought out. So thank you so much. Let me switch gears now to what you're talking about with elections. I think we've got a lot of opportunity here. I know there was another special election in Florida, in Mar-a-Lago. It was a red area and then a blue. A Democrat just won the Florida state house seat. It was a very close election. I'm at a point where I don't think we can look at these local elections as harbingers for what's going to happen in the midterms, whether in the primary or the general. The reason is they're all over the map. Republicans won by double digits above Trump, above the general election in Virginia. 3 seats, I think, flipped red. You had a Texas State Senate seat went super blue. That was bad. We had the seat in Florida that went blue. That was also bad. But we've seen Republicans also exceeding expectations too. This gives me a lot of hope that we see local elections and state elections are starting to divorce themselves a little bit from the national trends. It's up to the people on the ground. Are they putting in the effort? Are they running good candidates? Are they campaigning effectively? Are they using their money wisely? It's back to you as a voter. It's up to you. It's up to the state party, the local apparatus to get their candidates across the ground. They can't just ride on Trump, and they can't ride on anti-Trump. They just have to get there and show up. And that's true even here in California. I'm happy, I'm glad that Trump hasn't endorsed anybody for the governor's race. I think that would be a very bad move. I like the idea of 2 Republicans. We have more recent polling that shows that it's Bianco and Hilton going into the top 2. This is a huge win for us. 16 years of nonstop Democrat rule, and voters are chomping at the bit, chafing under the restraints and the oppression and the persecution and the incompetence that has defined California governance. I have more hope. I think it's more than pie in the sky. And now there was supposed to be a debate among the top 7 candidates at USC. I went to that debate in 2018. I was there in the audience. I recorded it when Travis Howland, John Cox, you had Villaraigosa, Newsom, and the rest. They were also there. And USC canceled it. Why? Because you had the low-tier, single-digit Democrat candidates complaining that they were shut out because they didn't have enough money.
Tony Learmond, Xavier Becerra, just a couple of them.
Betty Yee, and they're all claiming, and they all play the race card. They're like, well, we're the people of color, and only the white candidates, Democrat and Republican, are advancing to the debate. This is not fair. This is racist. The state legislature threatened USC over this, and then USC said, fine, we'll just pull the plug on it. Tom Steyer, the billionaire climate freak who has just jumped in, is going to spend a lot of his, waste a lot of his money running because he doesn't really have a chance. Just look at his presidential bid that crashed and burned in 2020. He wanted to sponsor another debate, but then there was more arguments among all of these lower tier candidates, whether they're statewide office or they've been congressmen or whatever. There was so much frustration that he had to give up the project. This, to me, gives me even more hope. It shows how divided, distracted, and disparate the Democrats are in California. They can't.
You know what I think the real reason is? Arthur? They don't want anybody hearing from all the candidates for Democrat. There's only two top ones on the Republican side, but on the other side, it's only supposed to be the top, certain amount of that you're in the polling. You have to hit a certain amount to even be part of the board of, and that's how it is with all these debates, because otherwise there's 200 people on stage.
Correct.
So they could comply. They could just say, okay, we'll invite those other four who are claiming it's all a racial thing. We'll let them be a part of it too. But the Democrat Party, the last thing they want is further splintering of this governor's race for them.
There you go.
They don't want you hearing from these other people because it will just split the vote up even more, won't it? They're scared to death.
They've made it worse because what's going to happen is people go, well, this Javier Becerra guy, they're not letting him talk. He must be pretty good. What about Tony Thurman? They have their niche ethnic groups. Tony Thurman is the black candidate. He's the Asian candidate. Becerra is the Hispanic candidate. Villaraigosa, the wannabe moderate Democrat candidate. They've all cut up their special slices of the whole Democrat intersectionality pie, and they're going to just pull those interests apart even more. This is a very good thing for us. I agree. I mean, the only thing that's kind of a downer, with Chad Bianco, as everybody knows, I support him. He hasn't been going to these other debates. I've understood the reason behind it. You may not agree with it, but up until March 7th, we didn't know what the field was going to look like. It wasn't a clearly established field. You had lots of people. Were some of these Democrat candidates going to stay in or not? Ian Calderon, he just dropped out. Now, he had been in some of the debates prior. Let's not forget that. Bianco has been to other debates. There was a Chamber of Commerce debate last year. He was there. He called out the entire panel of Democrats. Hilton was also there too, but he says all of these Democrats have ruined it. We need new leadership. He has been to other debates. I think what it amounts to, though, is it can't just be about clickbait or giving easy audience to these also rants who don't have a chance. I have to say, there's all these Republicans that, there was one big Republican gathering. I think it was in Orange County a few weeks ago. And I'm like, I'm not wasting my time on this. These candidates don't have a chance, and Hilton showed up. Okay, Hilton shows up, but let's be, get real, guys. Do you have any kind of polling? You've got those two Republicans and everybody else are Democrats in all of the polling. These other Republicans, look, I mean, David Serpa, he took a hint. He dropped out and now he's running for treasurer. Good for him. So I respect that. More of them should have done the same. We want two candidates. Let's do this. I think we can make it happen, depress the Democrat vote, have a bigger Republican turnout, and we can get this state back in order a little bit better. Election integrity is a big part of that. Now, people have been listening to your prayers, Charlie, because right before the Supreme Court, it was just yesterday, there was a big case. This is a fantastic opportunity. I think it's very smart what the Republican National Committee did. They want to stop the ballots being counted after Election Day. What a concept. Votes shouldn't count past Election Day. Samuel Alito, this is, I don't have the name of the case off the top of my head. I'll find it really quick.
The post office is now not even putting postmarks on a lot of these.
Yeah. And they could be
so there's no proof of what day or time that they came in.
Yeah, just that
post office is a part of this. I've been saying that all along, though.
And that is that is a totally legit point because what is it? James O'Keefe, Project Veritas, they exposed some serious problems. There were postal workers who came forward after election 2020. They talked about ballots.
Actually, O'Keefe Media, he got kicked out of Veritas.
It was still Veritas at the time. That's why.
I got you. Okay.
But I know he has his own media. Project Veritas had a lot of issues. The board collapsed, etc. There were a lot of problems there. But to his credit, he exposed this. He interviewed postal workers who talked about corruption, shenanigans, etc. Then you had all the ballot harvesting and stuff. COVID was this, perfect storm of corruption, failure, and lack of integrity. And I'm so grateful for this latest case. It's the RNC versus something. What I think was so smart, the Republican National Committee, they went to a Republican state. Can you imagine this? There are Republican states that will count ballots after Election Day. Mississippi.
Les been doing that for decades.
And you know what? Mississippi is a red state, but it was a blue state. Democrats loved stuff in the ballot. Mississippi was like a deep blue state for a long time. So ballots could count up to 5 days after Election Day. RNC sued. Now, Mississippi, just pro forma, they're defending their statute. But I think this is a very smart move politically, PR wise, because if RNC had sued Illinois or had sued California, that would have been a tougher case because they have more resources. All the Democrats would have jumped in, et cetera. But here, it's really, I listened to some of the oral arguments. Justice Alito got a lot of attention in the final remarks of the case. And he said, we're talking about a day, Election Day, Washington Day, Birth Day, Christmas Day. It implies a day, not a week, not a month, not a season. Doesn't that presume that the ballot should be counted by the day? And I think the court is going to strike down a lot of these late counting measures. And 14 or 19 states have this. That's going to help us. That's going to help us in California, where it's like 30 days of ballot counting. This is an embarrassment. So what do they got to do? Texas has the early voting, but what happens is there's a period, but it's like a month before to 3 weeks before. There's that 1 week window, and then you file, you mail, you vote early. But then that's it. Why? So that all the ballots get counted on Election Day. That's what Florida does. There you go. And what was unique too, Sonia Sotomayor, she tried to be smart. And she says to the RNC attorney, well, if we're not going to count late ballots, then perhaps we should have had we need a new president. Because look what happened in 2000. It was all those absentee ballots, right, that helped George W. Bush in Florida. And he just knocked that down, practically insulted her.
In 2000, what do you mean?
So what happens, like Florida, Bush won by like 535 votes, right?
Oh, in 2000, got it, right.
Because of the military
having to go to the Supreme Court, right? Yeah.
So she was trying to make the case, well, if we're not going to count absentee ballots, then maybe George W. Bush shouldn't have won, right? And the RNC attorney just shut her down and said that is a red herring. Wow, practically insulted her. With all due respect, slapped her across the face that she would even bring up such an argument. What happened in Florida was that their laws violated federal law. They did not permit a proper early voting period for military. So they had to extend the period for them. It was a consent decree to fix the problem that one time. That was a brilliant argument. These arguments are important because then people are going to start saying, well, if you don't have absentee, what about the military? What about the disabled? Whatever. The answer is they get the ballots early. And then they vote early so that they can vote from, overseas. That's the solution. We get rid of that, we're going to be in really good shape here. The RNC.
And by the way, for anyone who's confused, vote by mail is different from absentee ballots. Vote by mail is different from absentee ballots. Absentee ballots, that's a constitutional thing. Vote by mail, not.
I'm not afraid to admit this. Explain how you differentiate them, because I want to make sure I understand.
Absentee ballot goes to the very people that you just described. They've asked in advance, I'm going to be serving overseas, or I'm in a care home. I can't leave. I need to be able to vote early. That's very different from the vote by mail thing that California is blanketing out to everybody now. And in some households, 5-6 ballots to one house, one person.
Yep.
It's very, very different. A lot of people think, well, you're going to be cutting out these absentee. No, they're still there. And it's always been in place. And these folks who take advantage of it know about it. It's there. It's this is all about a vote by mail thing.
There are two celebrated examples I always talk about. I got 2 ballots in the mail in election 2016. No joke. I got 2. I called the registrar. I called the county party about it. They didn't do anything, but I said, I got 2 ballots. I did rip it up. I didn't go twice. I can assure everybody. Then there was San Pedro, California. You can look this up. There was one apartment that received 80 ballots, 80. I am not kidding you. And the registrar of voters, Dean Logan here in LA County, said, oh, it's a clerical error. Oh, it's a mistake. How is it possible that 80 names would be registered to one apartment? Give me a break. This is an outrage. I mean, you had Judicial Watch. They sued LA County, and there was a consent decree to clean up the voter rolls. I think you've talked about this. Then they end up putting them right back as soon as Judicial Watch turns away, because you have to have the structure in place to keep cleaning them. My dad, who has now passed away, but even when he was still alive, he moved from Lomita, California to Oregon. I ran for state assembly. I got the voter data for the district I live in. My dad was still on the voter rolls. He's alive. And I can guarantee in that apartment in Lomita, it was a condo. I'm sure that he got a ballot mailed to his house. I've no doubt about it. So this is a serious problem. All of this stuff has to be pulled apart. And I think I like the point is this issue about absentee. The voter requests it. That's the point you're making, right? They request it. I love what Poland. This is talk about election reforms. You not only can you have to request it, but you personally have to go to the registrar, show your ID, and then they give you the ballot. You have to go in person. You don't
because it's important.
There you go. And those
you better have some skin in the game.
You know, you should not be there. You know, because this is like this gets into like philosophical or theoretical issues. Everybody keeps talking about votes. But what is this really about? It's about we have a population of citizens who are registering a choice. That's what this is really about. We're confusing it. A vote is supposed to just represent the choice of a citizen. The focus needs to be on the citizen. As much as possible, the citizen needs to be present and make the case. I think the term is used chain of custody. That must be as strong as possible because this isn't about paper being counted. This is about the will of a citizenry being recognized. That's what this is about. I mean, in a perfect world, individuals would be able to show up in person and say, I'm voting for this person. I'm choosing that one. But the best system that we have is you go into a booth and you cast a ballot for somebody, or you mark a box, or you choose a party. But the idea is it's about a person, and we're divorcing that. We're making it about how much paper does the person collect? How many bubbles are filled in for the person? That's not what it's about. It's about the person. But of course, the Democrats want it this way. Stuff the ballot, have the illegals vote, have the dead people vote. They don't want to true the vote. They want to false the vote. And I got to give the RNC credit. They are filing multiple strategic, effective lawsuits to put an end to the cheating across the country.
Oh, thank
Good
God.
deal. Excellent. There was another case out of Illinois. It was a congressman who was challenging, I think it's similar to this, ballots being counted after Election Day. His case was allowed to proceed. So that's moving forward. I know the Election Integrity Project, they've been invested in lawsuits even here in California. It looks like their wishes are starting to come true as well. This is important. And I think Elon Musk, his taking over X, his promoting this problem of voter ID. Why would you not want to have people choose proof? There we go again. It's not about the piece of paper. It's about a person. I'm this person. I'm a citizen. Here's who I am. I get to vote. I can remember I was at UC Irvine my freshman year. This was in 2000, or it was 2001. So we're talking like 25 years ago. And I wanted to vote. Now, I'm an LA County resident. I'm registered to vote in LA County, even though I was at Orange County in Irvine. I was not really paying attention to this stuff. In those days, we're talking like 20 years ago, I go to a center and I want to vote, right? And they had a list of names and they looked it over and they said, you're not listed. You can't vote. 25 years ago, we had a pretty integrated system. 25 years ago, you had to live there. I went to a registrar's office in Orange County. I wanted to vote. I think it was the election 2000. Oh man. And they said, and I went to a voting booth and I said, I want to vote. What do I do? And they said, you're going to have to go to Cerritos. You have to go to LA County. Imagine that. Now they've changed all the rules. I can vote wherever I want, whenever I want. And now, as many times as I want. I mean, this is how awful it's gotten. But I mean, even California, and look what happened. 2000, 2001, California was in a much better place. Republicans had a chance, and we had a Republican governor. We had another Republican governor, and 2 years later, I mean, Schwarzenegger wasn't great, but he was certainly better than what we got now. But look at it. They changed the votes. They untrued the vote. They allowed it to open up, and look at the mess we're in. No, the correlation is really clear there. It's awful.
All right. The bottom line is we got to get registered to vote, registeredtovote.ca.gov. I think May 9th is the cutoff to be able to vote in the primary election on June 2nd. I would suggest.
Here's the thing, but actually it isn't. You can walk into a booth the same day and cast a provisional ballot. You're allowed to do that. In California, you can do that. This is a problem.
That's a serious problem.
It's
You still
horrible.
have to be registered, though, don't you?
But it's like,
I mean, if they're not checking IDs, how do they even know if you're registered or not?
there you go. That's the point. I can go, oh no, I forgot my ballot, and then you voted there, and then you vote in another place. I mean, what's to stop it? In California,
Good
I mean, I got to
Lord.
look this up if I'm missing something.
Is there any hope, do you think, that President Trump is going to be able to get these? We can't even get the SAVE Act passed, which
Well,
is
they're working
vitally
on it.
important. That's all about the most important thing is the voter ID. You must show an ID to be able to vote. It's very simple, and 82% of the population seems to want it. A majority,
Yes, we do.
overwhelming
No.
majority wants this, but yet our own Republicans aren't even really fighting to get it passed. It's going to have to turn into an executive order. I guarantee you states like New York, Illinois, and California will ignore it. They're going to do what they want to do anyway. And who cares? So we'll face consequences later. It'll all turn out. All that matters is winning right now. That's their attitude. They're not going to comply. They're not going to comply.
And that ties in with the Cesar Chavez thing, going back to that briefly. As long as he's useful to the Democratic power purposes, they had no problem propping up. They had no problem pushing away all of the sexual allegations against him, which were, flittering around for a long time beforehand. And here we are today. It's not the ballot. It's not the people who vote. It's the people who count the votes. It goes all the way back to Boss Tweed. It's all about that power differential at all costs. I think John Thune has started to shift a little bit, allowing other senators to start pushing for debate on it. Senator Kennedy said, let's use a reconciliation procedure to do this.
Which is brilliant.
I think that's a great
Which is brilliant. Why is it taking this long? How come nobody else knew about that? It's because they don't know. They get in these positions of power and they're like, okay, I got it. Now all I have to do is just keep running for re-election. They don't know these things. They don't investigate. They don't have a staff that actually looks into it. They have a staff that looks as to how they can get more campaign donations. That's their staff.
That issue of laziness, I think
it is really laziness. It's absolutely laziness.
It's lazy. That's the problem.
Yep. If they don't want to have to sit through a filibuster, because there will have to be Republicans present as long as the Democrats will stand up there and rattle on for hours and hours and hours. We have to be there because we have to, for one thing, if one of them even takes a break for too long of a time, boom, you're out, you're done. But if there's nobody there to call them on it, and these Republicans don't want to do it, they don't want to sit through it. So this is insane. They're all talking about, well, we'll wait until after Easter. It'll be too late by then. We need these things in place now for the primary election coming up and for the big election in November.
We absolutely do this. I think they should do an all-nighter. They should enforce the filibuster rules. I've written about this in the past. Either enforce them or get rid of them. This is it. It's not okay for one senator to just say, I don't want this, and then everybody just plays along and says, well, we don't have 60 votes. No, if they don't show up, then you can invoke cloture and we're done. Have a nice day. If they don't want to sit there and debate, if they don't want to, stand there, they have to stand to do it. Rand Paul, filibustered. Marco Rubio, this was in 2010, I believe, when it had to do with, is it okay for the government to kill a citizen? This had to do with war powers issues. And Eric Holder was finally forced to answer the question. We need to see that kind of stuff. You need to show up and talk the bill to death if you don't like it, or force the clerk to read the entire bill word for word and just delay the process. That's your job. They're lazy, and hopefully we've got some new ones who are going to turn the tables on this. I'm always optimistic. There was an attempt to set up a deal, because right now a lot of the DHS funding is on shutdown. But it looks like President Trump, he's open to a broad package where most of DHS is funded, and then the other stuff will be attached to a reconciliation bill, which will include the SAVE Act. Yes. So there is a way. They're working on it. John Thune is having to play ball. He knows he's under the gun. So
good.
This is good stuff. I'm very thrilled. To me, it's nothing but optimistic. I really do believe. I think we're going to see a reverse. In 2022, we expected a red wave. We barely got by. I think we're going to get what we were supposed to get. I really do. The war is going to end in Iran. The gas prices will go down again. I think we're going to start seeing these integrity measures come through. It's going to work in our favor. I'm always optimistic. You got to be cautiously optimistic. You got to be realistic. I get it. We got to really make sure that We got
And
to make some people vote. You got to look at what's on the ground. You got to fight with what you're dealing with. But the pieces are there. It can be done.
And ICE is in the airports.
Oh, that's so good. See, look, it's just brilliant what he did. ICE is
that
getting all
was
this
brilliant. The
attention.
left, how are they going to argue against that? This is beautiful. So they released this video of some woman being arrested in an airport by 2 ICE agents.
What's your name? Can show the badge. Where's a badge?
Where's your badge?
Can someone call 911?
Okay.
Where's your badge? Can I see? Let me see your badge.
Okay.
No, can I see your badge? I don't know if that's legitimate. Can I see your badge number, sir? What is your name? What is your name? Where's your badge number? I'm asking for your badge number, sir. What is your badge number? What is your badge number? We need to see your badge number. Show your badge number. This is an illegal arrest. Show the badge number.
Okay, we'll wait.
I need to see your badge
Step
number.
back, step back.
I don't know who you are. You could be someone kidnapping her.
We should call the police. Call the police.
But that's from like 2 months ago. It was not even recent. It was all such a lie, such a ridiculous lie. Yeah, she was arrested and she deserved to be arrested and deported. But the bottom line is it didn't happen after the ICE agents went in to spell and help and assist the TSA agents. I think it's absolutely brilliant too. I love this.
This has solved so many problems. First of all, it's it's like Trump is being the adult in the room by saying, okay, I have to solve the problem that the Democrats created. He's solving it. ICE gets a positive, PR glow after all the negatives. So everybody goes, thank you for ICE. ICE helped me to get home to my family on time. I didn't have to wait at the airport for 5 hours. And like you just said, they can still pick up illegals. A lot of them are flying in illegally. A lot of them can be deported just as quickly. This is perfect. And Democrats are going to lose this fight too. They are going to lose. And this is another reason to get, the argument for getting rid of the filibuster. It's like Democrats will not govern. They'll just be like children who want to tear everything down because they can't get anything. So they'll just shut everything down. Fine, we'll take away your toys and we'll just do majority rule if that's what we have to do. Fine.
Like you said last week, they are trying to burn everything down just so they can rule over the ashes.
That's it.
That was a good analogy. Arthur Schaper, fantastic. I know we can find a lot of your writings and your work on your blog spot. It's aschaper1.blogspot.com. That's the letter A, Schaper, SCHAPER, and the number 1.blogspot.com. And your work with Mass Resistance. May God bless you for that. That's amazing. Massresistance.org.
I appreciate you bringing that up every time. I can't thank you enough. We're really moving ahead on stuff. There's so much we're going to be talking about in the near future. It's very exciting. I'm
looking forward to it. All right, partner. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much again, Charlie. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I love talking with him. He's a great guest, and it's so funny because I will tell my other podcasting friends, broadcasting friends about this guy. Oh, yeah. It sounds interesting, but they don't have him on. I don't know why. He's such a great guest, other than maybe because of massresistance.org, and they're afraid of talking about and talking against the homo mafia, which is one of the big things Mass Resistance does, fighting against the LGBTQ mafia and their tactics of doxing and destroying and ruining your business and boycotts and so on and so forth, all to get you to say, these people are okay, and give them, they don't want equality. They want special treatment is what they want. And I'm sorry, but I will always be the first to say homosexual activities is sinful. It goes against God. It goes against God's plan. It goes against the laws of nature, for heaven's sake. So no, I'm not going to do anything to support homosexuality, especially when my California Republican Party keeps going that way with their log cabin Republicans and trying to make them part of the charter and so on. In fact, I think they actually did. I don't know. I'll let you know. I'm going to the convention this year or this spring. So it's going to be in San Diego, and first, second weekend of April, second. So there you go. Come on, podcasters, strap on a set, get Arthur on your show, and just let him go. He's great. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America, but most importantly, America bless God.